Welcome back. You're watching Big Deal, and we are discussing SM REIT as an asset class, a new asset class, which is going to see the first few new listings in a few months from now. Now, Anshul, we were talking about the technical details of how SM REIT will work and what are the differences. Now, when we talk about the performance assessment, what is in it for the investors?
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with the bigger REITs and come back to what Kunal was kind of pointing out. I think the REITs, the market's been a little bit harsh with the REITs, right? So that's sort of the main big office REITs. I think if you think about their collection, even through the worst period, the collection of rents were almost at 98, 99%, right? Initially, the REITs did really well. The capital values really shot up. And then the perception of the REITs kind of, push the capital values all the way down. So while the rental yields would, the yield distribution is, let's say, 5.5%, 6%, I think if you combine the capital appreciation, which I think is waiting to happen as the perception improves, your total returns will be very, very healthy.
Right.
From an assessment perspective and what's in it for investors, clearly the SM REITs have the yield will be a lot better, or should be a lot better, because your risk is higher because your diversification is lower and your manager is kind of unknown.
Yes.
My view on this is anybody investing in it, like anything, it's buyers beware kind of stuff, right? So you need to have a really good view on the quality of properties, because ultimately, please bear in mind that if the property is not, it may be leased today, right? But the reality is the flight to quality is a global phenomenon. It's not an Indian phenomenon, right? And it's also an Indian phenomenon. So people are moving from poorer quality or even older buildings into newer buildings, right? So ultimately, the assessment should be, one of the biggest criteria of assessment should be what's the quality of that property, and is a corporate likely to stay? And is a blue chip and a good quality corporate likely to stay in those offices, right? And I think that's the most important thing. And that then, it really depends on the quality of the manager and their ability to continuously lease the property, their ability to maintain the property at a very high, high standards effectively.
All right.
Yeah, so those are very important things from an assessment perspective.
Right. So you gave a good sense on how, according to you, REITs have a much bigger potential. But SM REITs, Kunal, being a player, what will be your pitch point to capture the same retail audience and investors, which now REITs are also trying to capture to increase their traction? Because they have also opened an IRA, the association, and they are, also educating the retail participants. So it's the same pool of investors that SM REITs as well as REITs would be trying to get investments from. How will you make a pitch point and add to that the yield dynamics where the investors have not been very happy with the listed REITs yield performance?
Right. So, look, as far as the pitch is concerned, this is not a new pitch. We've been making this pitch for the last 8 years, and of which 6 years have been where there has been a REIT also listed on the market. So clearly, the fact that we manage amongst all the platforms close to 4,000-5,000 crores means that there's already a validation of these particular products, and that's why the regulator has now said that this is something they want to bring into the regulatory sort of fold. And the pitch is quite simple, really. I mean, the yield, for example, which is the number one determinant of value, is much higher in an SM REIT, because an SM REIT has a focused single asset investment approach, and therefore it is able to get investments into properties which are a lot more likely to give long-term returns to investors than a very diversified approach which a REIT has, right? A REIT is, the reason the REITs came into being was the fact that funds like Blackstone and Brookfield had a large portfolio, and they needed to monetize this portfolio by selling the units to the investors. Whereas the way the SM REITs have been formalized is, you find the asset and then present it to the investor. In a way, you are the investment manager. And SEBI has said that The investment manager himself needs to put in 5% capital into every investment.
So you have the skin in the game. Yeah, you have your skin in the game. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Katie, Chandy, very quickly, are these kind of yields really sustainable for SM REIT? Being an expert, what do you say? Also, because the compliance cost for smaller REITs with 50 to 500 crores, and also the whole process and cost of staying in a listed space, does that make sense and also make it viable?
Yeah. So let me, Nisha, answer that question by just touching on the two aspects that Anshul and Kunal spoke about. And one can look back and say that SEBI has introduced SM REITs with the restrictions that it has put in. Learning from REIT, right? Single asset. So therefore, no dilution of income earning, no related party transactions. All matters that could have diffused value for investors, they are focusing in an SM REIT. And then it goes back to how the manager's credentials really on how they select the properties, A-class properties. And as Kunal said, one has to first identify the property and offer. So you will get, people whose specific interests are in particular assets and they understand that asset, and you need only 50 crores. So I think SM REIT has the kind of restrictions has highlighted what SEBI thinks of some of the areas of improvement for a REIT itself. Now, the cost, when it's 50 crores, I'm sure all the managers will be able to manage the cost. The cost.
So all the managers will be able to manage that cost. They will incorporate that and bake it in their entire business model. But definitely SM REIT is going to expand the scope of REIT culture in the country. And I would also make one more observation that probably it could add to the inception of first residential REITs in the country through SM REITs, because we don't have any such property developed in the REIT area or by the sponsors or the big global investors who have come in the REIT space till now. All right, Anshul, Kunal, as well as Katie, thanks so much for joining us. With that, it's a wrap on Big Deal.